Hello, I am Ricardo Levant, author of The Widow's Oil. There is a quote from WandaVision. It's a Disney Plus superhero TV show that has made quite an impact regarding grief. As far as looking at it, not like literally, but as far as looking at it. Actually the whole series is about grief, which is really cool. It's really interesting. But there was a line that was said. It was by Vision, which is a robot of sorts, talking to his wife, who has superpowers. Don't ask it. It's kind of interesting. Who created a false world due to missing her loved ones. And he says something to comfort her. He talks about, never really experiencing grief because he was a robot, but he says, what is grief if not love persevering? It was so powerful to consider, and in the show it's not played for laughs or after an action event, but it felt genuine and honest. The truth is, he's not wrong. You still love the person but can't physically show it to them due to the loss. So the brain is grieving. It's missing whatever synapses and electrical sparks are used to feel that part of your mind. While working on this book, I was a caretaker for my wife, who was courageous and determined to battle cancer. During this process, she passed away, which caused me to understand Vision line and truly understand the widow of the character I was writing in this current book. I never thought I would write a first-hand account when starting the book. Everything was going fine at first. It actually took years to kind of put some stuff together, and I was in and out writing all types of other stuff. But it did affect how I viewed the story afterwards. And when writing about a character who's gone through loss, we often want them to handle the situation quickly. You see that a lot in TV shows. And often this is done for convenience, but it never actually reflects reality. The truth is that grief is complicated. It's hard, it's tough. And overcoming that, what you missed about someone no longer being there, is not easy. And when preparing for a funeral, you're busy with getting through that process, but as the chaplain at the hospital said, it's truly afterwards, after all that, all the people, the guests, and everyone else, it's just you. That's when the true grieving process starts. The reality is that you'll never see them again, experience their presence, or have one of those special moments with you. Since the time of her death, I've received counseling, researched and took in information that would help, and really even considered going to group therapy, which sounds pretty interesting. And all of this is so I can help myself, but also so I can also be a beacon and of help for other people in their time of grief. So, some of what I've learned and experienced was put into this book. And not only that, but I also wanted to go over a few of those ideas here in this particular video. Maybe just to help anyone who could be currently grieving a loved one, loss of a loved one, or maybe you want to have a little bit of understanding so you can help someone else out as well. And the first thing I would say is that it's okay not to be okay. We often go around people and say that everything's alright and we're feeling fine and there's no worries. The truth is that we're hurting inside and we feel terrible and sadness reigns supreme in our minds. And it's okay to admit that you're hurting. You have to admit that to yourself, that you're not doing so well. The loss of a loved one is affecting you, and it's okay to admit this. This goes for both men and women, because after all, sometimes as men we like to act like we're above our feelings, but in reality we're not. We're human, we have emotions just like our female counterparts, so don't act like you're totally different. We must gather people or friends or family who can be there to help you, that you trust, that can be able to bless you or to do something good and keep your head up during this particular rough time in your life. We also have to understand that grief comes differently to everybody. Some are crying all the time, other people shut down. Some people almost consider doing harmful things to themselves or have bad ideas, while others go and, get help. We all handle it differently because that is the coping mechanism instilled in us from when we were young by our parents or caretakers or by someone else that we saw. Or by the behaviors that we've learned that we saw our friends or family or people even on TV or in the movies. The idea and goal is not to allow the grief to become a self-destructive or cause for harming other people. That would be terrible. Instead, it is better to be able to learn how to manage your grief whenever that terrible situation might have been placed upon yourself. Next up, you want to recognize that grief can be different depending on the situation. And what I mean by that is if a person dies of a terminal illness, that particular family or friends, they've had some time to prepare. It's still not easy, it's still tough and hard, but you've been preparing this entire time. However, if a person is murdered or dies on the job like a firefighter or police officer, or the person died in a car accident, then in those situations, the sadness is different. There is the loss of the person, whatever the problem that caused their death. And sometimes that could lead to anger as well as grief, depending upon what happened to that loved one. One thing I would also tell people to do next up is to look for help. Once you know there's a problem, you understand, okay, I got some grief going on. Get the help you need to go through this process. Now for me, I was very lucky. A job provided the means to be able to get good mental health counseling, which has done wonders for my psyche and how I'm also able to relate to people and to make and do videos and write books and stuff of that nature. But I do understand that getting a therapist, well, that is not cheap. There are some online sites that can provide help, discounts and stuff of that nature, or maybe even your doctor could possibly send you to a specialist. But there's some people out there who might have a pastor or a priest in their church or in their synagogue who might be able to help. There might be some counselors or group therapy sessions around at a particular city that you live in, or maybe at one of the city buildings, like a YMCA or one of the city athletic centers or something like that might be able to have something that could help. But regardless of your feelings, don't try to do it alone. For example, if you broke your shoulder bone, you wouldn't try to learn medical surgery online and then try to fix it yourself. That sounds ridiculous. You would go to an emergency room and have professionals fix your shoulder. Well, guess what? The same goes for your mind. If it's broken due to an unfortunate circumstance, get a professional and help and allow them to help you heal that wound. Next thing that you also want to remember is there are no timetables for healing. People grieve and heal at different intervals. Some of your grief process depends on your attachment and association with the person. Obviously, the closer you are, the harder it's going to be able to heal. And there are no standards for this particular healing. Many people might try and tell you to get over it and that you'll be okay in a month or 3 months or 6 or something ridiculous. This is actually only beneficial for them. They want you to get back to normal so they can get back to normal. It's good for them. But as for you, don't put a timetable on it. As you're journeying through this grief process, it takes time. Start with taking it moment by moment. That with each minute, you're going to be okay. You might say to yourself, you know what, that past minute was a good minute. Let me get one more good minute. And then you're okay. And then it may take an hour. Okay, I just went through a good hour. Good. Let me try to have another one. And eventually you get it up to a day by day. There would be setbacks when you'll have, problems or something of that nature. It's okay. And sometimes things will trigger a memory of the person or bring on a huge surge of sadness. It's okay. It's normal. You're not broken. You're not abnormal or strange. You're human. And your actions show that there was a person who was worth loving to a very high degree. The next thing. Also, for anyone taking care of someone who that person's in a terminal situation, remember that you're doing all that you can. And if you're doing that right now, then please do all that you can for them. Spoil that person with love. Do the things that you know they love with them to the degree that is above and beyond. That person might think you're crazy, but the truth is you're ensuring that if it doesn't get better, I know a lot of times we hope for it, but there are some other sicknesses outside of cancer. There's other diseases out there that when the person gets that, we realize they don't know if they're going to get better. So if they don't, then they will at least know that someone at that moment loves them and is treating them very, very special. So many people wish and are looking for people to love them. We need it. I know we try to be super strong, super independent, almost idol-like. We want people to love us because we need it. That's how our society, that's how our brain works. We're not some of these other animals that are solitary. We're humans. And it's okay to want to be loved. And it's important to have someone especially think of them and not just be like another number forgotten in the 8 billion plus amount of people that's in this particular world. So instead, show that person that you are doing all that you can. And and in some of our cases, the person has passed away, you will know that you did all you could to help them while they're alive. Because sometimes your mind will believe that you could have done more. You'll start beating yourself up for not doing something that could have changed the circumstances, or maybe we should have took this medicine or gone here, or did we do this thing, or blah, 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 blah. Don't listen to it. You're not weird for having those ideas, but don't listen to them. It's hard to hear, but for some people, sometimes it was just their time. We don't like it. We don't like to accept it. But the reality is sometimes it's just true. But don't mentally harm yourself by thinking about how you could have made things different. Instead, realize that you did all that you could. You provided the best possible situation considering the circumstances, and you were thrilled with the time that you had to be with that person. This mindset doesn't come overnight. It takes you to stop and take that idea day by day. And now lastly, I didn't mean for this video to be this long. You're going to be alright. It could be tough now, I get it, a week from now, months from now, or even a year. But you'll see some growth. And if you're willing to take it step by step, allow your mind to heal, and you'll see growth and progress. Soon you'll be able to have conversations about the loved one. They won't break you down or make you cry. Instead, you'll relay it with happy moments and thoughts and how they positively influenced your life. You're a very strong person and can survive through this dramatic event. Your healing will inspire others so that they can live a life of love, persevering. For more on the Widow's Oil, visit lavari.com, Widow's Oil, where you can find free chapters, video, charity, and travel spotlights. It's available on Amazon and wherever books are sold, including hardcover, paperback, and Kindle editions. Thank you for your support, and be strong.